Target, maximum firepower.
Brace for impact!
Okay. Welcome to the Brace for Impact podcast, where we tell you how to be better at Star Wars Armada. Today we're going to analyze our last battle report, review the defensive what?
Oh, did I not update that one? Review the Ion upgrade cards. See, there we go. We fixed it.
Okay.
Read the room, not the script, man.
No, I will read a script. I will read it. Okay. Take two.
Okay.
Welcome to the Brace for Impact podcast, where we tell you how to be better at Star Wars Armada. Today we're going to analyze our last battle report, review the Ion upgrade cards, and do some speculation on how Armada can expand past the Clone Wars release. So, rolling into my favorite part of the episode, we had a battle report that just posted on YouTube. I think it's Red October versus the Alliance Home Fleet. This one was rough for me.
This was a rough one, yeah.
So, I don't know. Do you want to talk about this game?
Well, let's talk about our fleets. You had the Alliance Home Fleet.
Uh-huh.
It was the MC-80.
It's a it's an MC-80 Home one with Akbar as the commander and 3 CR-90s, with the idea being each of these CR-90s has TRC and the MC-80 has Home 1. So they'll shoot, and every time they shoot, maybe they're doing concentrate fire, so they're rolling 3 reds. One of them's guaranteed to be an accuracy, and then one of them I'll change with TRC to a double hit, right? So probably one of the dice will at least be a hit. So I'm thinking I'm throwing 3 dice with each of these 3 with an accuracy, basically every single shot, right? So in my head, this is a thing. I've seen this kind of fish farming list before. It has 2 VCXs to move tokens around, and I have objectives that kind of give me tokens that I can move around. It just from deployment, and I feel like I say this in every episode. From deployment, this did, like, at the start of turn 1, my first activation, I was like, this is not going to be a fun time for me.
No.
And it's mostly because of how Cataclysm interacts with the Onager, and basically made it so when I deployed my CR-90s, they were in firing range of Cataclysm on turn 1 from the jump. They were getting black dice thrown at them, which CR-90s really don't like a lot at all.
I don't think anything likes that.
Yeah, not many things do.
Talk about what my list was. I was running Red October, which is an Onager with a fleet of small ships. I had 2 Architans with TRC, Advanced Projectors, and Intel Officer. I had a Raider 1 with Iden, Expanded Racks, and Gazanti with Hondo, which is what makes the Cataclysm shenanigans work, because Cataclysm says that you have to have a Concentrate Fire token. You can spend that to put your ignition down, your ignition token down on the board.
So
and
if you don't
using Ozzel with that, I can hit you pretty hard at the start of turn 1, basically.
So if you don't have a Concentrate Fire token, you can't lay the ignition down at all?
No. It's at the start of the ship phase. It lets you do that. But normally, you have to put it down after you move.
Okay.
So without Cataclysm, I couldn't hit you
turn 1
at round 1. It would have to be at the start of turn 2.
Right.
That I could shoot at you.
Right.
But since I had Ozzel, Cataclysm, and Hondo, that all works together in a big pile of a fuck you cannon. And
basically that plan went off exactly as you would expect it to. You being the Imperial player, because I put 3 low health ships in a cluster, and as it turned out,
right there in the juicy spot,
I really didn't have like enough deployment advantage to wait out you placing the Onager directly across the board from them. Basically, the only way I could have counteracted this would be if if I spread them across the field more.
Yeah, like if you had already experienced this kind of onager fuckery and you just spread them all across the board.
Right. But the idea was that they're close to home one to get their accuracy for free, right? So
exactly.
It was
that's the whole deal.
Anyway, so we deploy playing fire lanes, and I place them basically all on the far side of my MC80 from your list. Your list, 2 Architects, a Raider, and an Onager, and a Gazanti, kind of all clustered across from me. And I started trying to move most of my fleet to my right-hand side and fly it kind of toward the back right corner of the board from my perspective, and kind of the idea there.
Yeah, where all the fire lanes
bringing
tokens are.
the tokens along for the ride with my VCXs. But, activation 1 of turn 2, a CR90 dies. The other one's got like 1 health left. So I'm basically already down 100 points of fighting force before a single shot gets fired from my side of the table. And then the third CR90 was literally flying, like I was just trying to run away from the Onager's arc. So the only thing that it did was, I think,
run into the
Raider and die. Yeah, die. So it was basically MC80 against the world, and it honestly did pretty good considering that it was fighting 2 TRC Architects with advanced projectors and an Onager and a Gazanti, which the Gazanti actually killed one of the CR90s.
Yep, hilarious.
The VCXs didn't really do any damage, and didn't like 0, right? Because they were moving the fire lanes tokens, and then the first Architects that the MC80 shot at was only red dice, and it survived, I believe, with 2 health.
1 health.
1 health, right. And then 2...
no shields and 1 health, I think.
At the end of the game, yeah. 2 CR90s with TRC put shots into it and couldn't do 1 more hull damage just because of advanced projectors, which we talked about before.
I think it's so cool on the Architects. I love it.
The second shot from the MC80 did delete an Architects because I had my blue dice.
But it deleted the other one.
But it deleted the second... Yeah, well, I made a choice there, which was, do I make a shot with my MC80 to do 1 damage to an Architects, or do I try to delete the other one? And I think that's the correct choice in that scenario, because
I think, objectively, that's the correct choice.
I had multiple CR90s that could get the kill, and I had 2 VCXs as like a, look, eventually they're going to do 1 damage to it, right? So I take out the second Architects. XI7s is great. And then I decide here between moving my MC80 toward my left side of the board to continue to engage in the fight, or move it to the right to leave the battle, essentially.
I think this is like a huge deciding factor in the game, is whether you go left or right.
And I go left, from my perspective, left. And looking back and rewatching the fight, I should not have, because there was nothing more to be gained. And only the things that could happen would be that this ship dies.
Yeah.
So had I gone to the right, I can keep swinging back around and maybe finish off that 1 health Architects, continue to get fire lanes points, and maybe continue to dodge the Onager's front arc, ignition arc. I don't know if I could have. I think that you would have lined up the Onager to delete the MC80 before the end of the game, even if I'd gone right, but I do believe it would be the better move for that game.
Yeah.
So I go left with it, and I try to fight the Onager, and I do get a couple of good shots in on it. I forget about leading shots, so I don't kill the Raider on the final turn. Then I die to the Onager on its last activation by like exactly 1 health after the freaking Onager spends the first 4 turns of the game. Let's see, the first 4 turns of the game for the Onager were put the CR90 at 1 health, delete a CR90, I believe delete a GR75, and then I believe after that it stopped having shots left. That was when you said, oh my god, there's nothing in my ignition arc, this sucks, because everything was dead already.
I mean, yes, because if I put the ignition token down, that's where I'm firing. Like, I can't have the ignition token and then fire from left and right if there's nothing in my ignition arc. So I effectively lose a shot, which is It sucks, yes, but
Not
I guess
that
I
much.
just wasn't really. I wasn't really considering my position at that point. I was just like, man, I really need to have my guns on target if I'm going to win this game. But at
I
that point, it was
I
pretty
don't believe
decided.
ignition arcs interact with fire lanes, but eventually, I mean, like you were like gonna start getting fire lanes tokens if I had left them over there.
Yeah.
So I started pulling them back toward my MC80 with the VCXs after they failed to kill the Architons. And it was actually the turn that you one-shot the GR75 with the Onager that,
Yeah.
like, I had a squadron command dialed in to finish off that one health Architons. But of course, like, first player goes first, the GR75 dies, the VCXs I know, not having rogue and having no ship close enough to command them, will never kill the Architons. They'll never shoot it again. So I was like, I need to do something of value with them. So let's have them, come around and try to get these fire lanes tokens to continue to get me points. I mean, they did end up I did score 150 points. I think of my points were fire lanes tokens, but based on the objective and what I was trying to do, it should have been, 250 points.
Yeah, you should have had all of them.
Yeah.
I think because you went left with your MC80, then you stopped getting tokens.
Yep.
You had round 3, you went left instead of right. That's 3 sets of tokens you didn't get.
I for some reason decided to play I'll just kill his whole fleet game, even though I only had one ship left and you had first player. It was just never gonna happen, and I don't know why I thought it would.
Yeah.
It was never gonna happen from the first time you activated the Onager, and I was like, yeah, there's nowhere for my fleet to go that isn't in its ignition arc for next turn.
Yeah.
And the turn after, basically. There was just nowhere. Well, lesson learned, I think. I hope. But, we'll see. I surprise myself sometimes. You want to talk about some ion upgrades?
Let's talk about all the ion upgrades. We got
Literally
all the
every
ion
single one of them?
upgrades on the list today.
Okay, well, I don't think it's fair for anyone but you to introduce the first one.
All right, so the first ion upgrade we've got is heavy ion emplacements. It's a blue crit, exhaust if you do. The defending hull zone and each adjacent hull zone loses 1 shield for 9 points.
So it's 3 damage to a ship for 9 points when you get a blue crit.
It's 3 damage, 3 shield damage.
Mm.
It's not. It's kind of similar to assault concussion missiles, but it's only shield damage. So if they have no shields, this effectively does nothing, and you just want to use the normal blue effect. But I think this is a pretty cool card. But because of its cost and how it needs a blue crit, which is pretty difficult to get, I think it's really exclusive to larger ships only. Because of how expensive it is, you don't want to have a whole fleet of small ships with a 9-point upgrade on them.
Yeah.
And obviously, the more, because there's only 2 crit icons on the blue die, so you're not getting it very often.
It's a 33% chance, right, for 1 die?
33, yeah, 33.
That does not mean if you roll 3 blue dies.
No, for 1 die, it's 25%. Because it's got 8 sides.
Oh, it's 2 crit, 2 accuracy, 4 hit.
Yeah.
Oh, true. 25%. So if you roll 4 blue die, that doesn't mean that you're definitely getting it still. Trust me.
You have a 75% chance. So you need to have if you're planning around heavy ion emplacements, you're probably planning for the wrong thing. Yes, it hurts their redirect, and you can use your accuracy icon on their brace without regard for them moving shields or moving as many shields, because it'll have done 3 damage, but your whole plan shouldn't be around making heavy ion emplacements work.
You know what does a better job of dealing with redirect tokens than heavy ion emplacements?
What?
XI7s.
Exactly.
XI7s being so good effectively makes this card worse. Like, obviously, yes, there are situations where some ships have this upgrade slot and not the other, but no ship with XI7s cares about how many hulls, like how many shields are lost on the adjacent hull zone. You're just going to drill through the hull zone that you pick, and yeah, like
this card is good for like an interdictor. I think is really the only ship that I've put this on and it felt good.
Yeah,
because like you don't put this on like an ISD. Put XI7s and leading shots on it. You're going to do more damage that way.
Right.
Obviously. Like,
and I think this interacts well with disposable capacitors too.
Exactly. You have more chances to get this off, to get your blue crits off. But the problem with it is like you really don't have a way to re-roll your dice if you're running this because you don't have like leading shots. So you want like special commanders like Vader to re-roll your dice. But
for Rebels, like, I think has Kaken and Sholin as an option.
Yeah, it's good.
So we have some ships on the Rebel side like that you would actually consider this, like MC-75 or Liberty. You know, has like a significant number of blue dice and a big arc, and can take Kaken and Sholin, whereas the Empire cannot, right? So they don't have any like built-in way to re-roll blue dice except for I think Vader Commander, right?
Vader Commander and Officer, and concentrate fire tokens. But it's not. See, the thing is, like, if you Kaken and Sholin it, you're saying I'm re-rolling my blue dice, but you obviously have other dice in your pool. You don't have only blues.
Right.
If you have red blanks, why aren't you re-rolling those? Like, if you just get hit accuracy, why are you re-rolling those dice and not your red ones or your black ones? Like, what are you doing?
Right.
You're planning for this effect to go off when it's probably better to do other things.
Yeah, it's sunk cost fallacy, right? I've spent 9 points on this upgrade card, therefore I really want the blue special critical effect to go off. So I need to invest other resources into making sure that my blue special critical effect goes off. So it's like between this and you're adding Kaken, how many points are you now spending to do the shield damage that you want to deal when
you could just have XI7s and not worry about that.
Right. Exactly.
It's still a good card and I like running it, but I really think it's only on specific ships. Like I said, the interdictor is what I put this on. It's got 2 hull zones that have 3 dice, and you put disposable capacitors on it. You get a double arc, and you fire this off, and it's probably going to happen. And then
what do you think about Raider 2s with it?
No, do not put this on a Raider 2.
Why not? Decaps and Raider 2s.
Don't invest points into the Raider. Don't invest more points than you want. First of all, the Raider 2 is more expensive. And then you put a 9-point upgrade card on like one of the most delicate little flower ships in the game.
Well, you give it this and 8 in disposable capacitors, and then you give it Corvus so it can deploy in a position where it can't be really threatened.
The problem is it's only got like 3 blue dice.
So like think about this.
One on the side. It's not enough.
You deploy your fleet. They deploy their fleet, right? Mm-hmm. Then you put Corvus, in a position where if they approach your fleet, Corvus is behind them. Then on your long range shot, you decaps. Then you move into blue range, shoot again, right? So you've got 2 good shots and a good chance to get HIEs to go off. But again, you're building a whole list now around a single upgrade card.
You're building it's not a build around card. It's an enhancement card that might happen sometime in the game. You'll probably get this once or twice in a single game.
Yeah. And I think
you could probably get it off every single round if you have Admiral Screed, you'll get it every single round. But after a while they'll run out of shields and the effectiveness of this is over. Right. And you were wishing you didn't Screed and you had a better way to re-roll your damage.
What like if you're let's say you've built your HIE ship that you really want this to work and you're going to have a party with it. You deploy across from your enemy. What ship are you shooting, like, your HIEs at? You know, what are good targets for this critical effect?
Any large ship, really.
The bigger,
I
the
mean,
better.
and also, this isn't really good against small ships or MSU because if you're shooting this at long range with decaps, they just evade your blue crit.
Right.
And then now you get nothing.
Yep.
Good job.
And
so you want to shoot this at a large ship.
Yeah.
Hopefully it doesn't have evade. And
I would
strip
say
some shields off it.
the number one target is something like
Ship
an
with shields?
MC-80. Something with 2 redirects who really loves to spread the damage across its shields.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You take away that from the MC-80 and suddenly it's an 8 health ship with a brace token.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
I would say this card should exclusively be used on ships that only have an ion upgrade and not a turbo laser.
Yeah.
Like the Raider 2 interdictor. And that's it for the Empire. Put it on no other ships. Don't put this on your Imperial 2 or an ISD 1 because it's only got 2 blue die out the front. I mean, Imperial 2, that's a pretty good choice. It's got a lot of blues, but you have XI7s. Like,
there are better choices for the ion upgrade on an Imperial 2 if you want to take it.
Yeah. So this is a card for the Empire, at least. You only put on the interdictor or a Raider 2. And if you put it on a Raider 2, you're probably investing too many points into it.
All right.
What about for the Rebels? Like, do they have ships that have ions and no turbo lasers? Not really. What would you put this on?
Liberty.
Liberty?
Mm-hmm. Liberty with gunnery teams. But it's an exhaust, but you're probably not going to get both shots anyway. So it's, a Liberty, something that can dance out of danger and can maybe get behind the enemy and blow up their shields.
Maybe the Star Cruiser variant with 4 blue die.
Right.
That's a pretty good chance of getting it, at least on one ship. You know?
I've just found it hard to keep shit in medium range of the front arc of the Liberty.
Yeah, that's also a problem. Like, if it doesn't have disposable capacitors, then it's even less likely that you'll get this off.
All right. Well, the next one.
It's a lot of points for a card that'll do something sometimes in some games.
The next card we've got is Ion Cannon Batteries, which is another blue critical effect. It says choose and discard 1 command token from the defender. If the defender does not have any command tokens, the defending hull zone loses 1 shield instead. This is 5 points. So obviously, just like we talked about with HIE, it requires a blue critical. We've talked about blue critical effects and the difficulty of making sure that they happen, right? Like, like 2 blue dice, you got a 40-ish% chance of getting that blue critical. So here's my thoughts about Ion Cannon Batteries. This is straight up never a card I've attached to a single ship in a single game ever, because
yes, I agree. I've never done that either.
Number one, if I'm removing a command token, how good is that to be worth 5 points? And then if they don't have a command token, which in today's meta is fairly common for a ship to just be flying around with 0 command tokens, 1 shield, it's now half the price of HIEs for a third of the effectiveness.
Yeah.
What? Like, yeah, I guess it's cheaper and you could use it on both attacks. So, like, okay, but we already talked about how, like, if you're getting a blue critical on both of your arc, like double arc attacks, like, congratulations, your dice are hot, right? Like, it's probably not what's happening. However, I feel like the future meta of the game, command tokens are going to become more important. with some of the new cards they're introducing and the new card text that allows you to like spend command tokens to refresh cards that have been tapped.
Yeah.
So I would be very interested to see something like this become more important in a few months when Armada 1.5 comes out. And now everyone's stacking command tokens all over the place to make all of these effects proc. And now you're coming in with your ion cannon batteries, preventing those effects. This is very thematic if it goes off, right? Now these cards you want to untap and use, you can't because someone ion cannon batteried you last turn.
Yeah.
I'm very interested by
agree
this
with
card.
that.
I just wish that it was more relevant, and maybe it will be soon.
But even with that, like, is it worth taking ion cannon batteries at 5 points for that? I would say, like, because they're changing a lot of points values, like if this was at 3 points, I think it would be really interesting, and we would see this card a lot to shut down some of those refreshing cards.
Yeah.
I mean, this is one of the cards that have existed in the game for like basically its entire life that I've never looked at until now and been like, ooh, this card could be interesting.
Yep.
I think like a couple, like 1 or 2 point reduction, and then this card is hot fire in Armada 1.5.
There's one card in the Ion category that just unfortunately sucks the oxygen out of the room for all of the other cards. And
what's that?
I honestly think the game would be better if it didn't exist in this upgrade slot.
What?
I'll tell you when we get there.
Okay.
Do you want to move on to the next one? Anything else to say about ion cannon batteries?
Not really. This is the card that, like, up until they announced these new, like, this new design space for the cards that is just people look at and they're like, oh, that card has cool art, and then they just put it back in their folder. And it's like,
It does
you
have
obviously
really
never
cool
take
art.
this. It does. It's like the art's cool.
Really
Shooting
cool
laser
art.
beams. It's like ion cannon batteries. Oh, everyone loves those, but it does nothing for you.
Probably
should feel
top
bad.
2 ion slot art on this card.
Yeah, honestly.
Okay, the next one is high capacity ion turbines. This is enhanced armament for blue dice. It's a modification. Your battery armaments for your left and right hull zones are increased by 1 blue die for 8 points. It's actually 2 points cheaper than the red dice version, I assume because of range or something.
Yeah, range and damage output, because the red dice has the potential for the double hit.
This is a very straightforward card. Is your ship going to last long enough and get enough shots out of the side arcs to justify 8 points for that extra blue die every time it shoots out of the side arcs? I mean, Akbar fleets maybe would be considering this, but that's normally a red dice world, But stuff gets into medium range, so I'll also never put this on ship 4.
All right, let me just say, I love this card.
What? What do you love about this card?
I love this card. This card is one of my favorites to run on the ISD Kuat.
Why?
Because here, let me bring up the ISD Kuat. Out of its side, it's got 2 black, 1 red, and 1 blue.
Okay.
So this increases your potential of getting an accuracy while you're also rolling 2 black dice. Essentially 3 if you concentrate. Fire.
Right.
And it's just really good. It'll either increase your damage output from your side shot, or it'll give you like an accuracy, and now you've got 2 blacks with, you're gonna have 3 damage on them. All right, now you accuracy the brace, and then they just have to take that. Then you shoot out of your front with the double arc, and it's so good. And it doesn't take up the because Kuats can't take spinal armaments, so you take high capacity ion turbines and whatever ordnance slot you like, and it just makes your Kuat better.
Yeah, I can see that.
It makes it so even if they dodge your front arc, you're still slapping them in the mouth with 5 dice.
Yeah.
And I like running my Kuats with the salvo upgrade, local fire control. And high capacity doesn't do anything for that. I'm just talking if they dodge your your front arc, you shoot them out the side with 5, they shoot you, you roll 3 back at them. And it's,
Yeah.
I mean, they might as well have been in the front arc anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's just boring.
It's boring, but like enhanced armament is also boring.
Oh yeah,
Spinal
for sure.
is boring, but I think this is on the level of Spinal enhanced armament as well. Like
Absolutely.
just because it's blue, I think because Kuats they want to get in there, they want to be in black range, so the blue range restriction doesn't really affect them at all.
Right. If you're not rolling blue dice on a Kuat, you've lost the game already.
Yeah, you're probably cold on this because you like running the MC80s who want to be at long range, maybe medium range, but never close range.
Exactly. Yeah, I guess that's why. Yeah, there's not like the only rebel ships that would even I think consider this are MC-75s and Starhawks. Yeah. Because they are fine brawling. And basically every other rebel ship wants to dance. The MC-30, the only exception, but I think it's too squishy to put this many points into one more blue die.
Yeah. And would you put this and not like leading shots? What would you put for the MC-30's ion cannon slot?
First of all, let me make sure that they have one before I say something.
They do not.
Then
MC-30s don't. Okay.
Then moving on. Moving on to the next card, MS1 ion cannons. Another blue critical effect. Blue critical.
Lots of blue crits.
Yeah, choose and exhaust one of the defender's upgrade cards. This is only 2 points.
Only 2 points.
However, I have never, and I'm going to confidently say right now, unless this card is changed, I will never be putting this on a ship. I will never.
Never. This is a card that is too expensive at 2 points.
Yeah.
Because, look, you put it in your list, and guess what? Your opponent's upgrade cards don't exhaust.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hey now. This might have another, we were talking about ion cannon batteries. Those cards that exhaust and don't untap unless you pay the cost. I mean, maybe this could have a home in the new Armada.
No. Because what if you just fly up against a list that doesn't have exhaust cards?
Then you've only spent 2 points, I guess. It's still too expensive, though.
Like,
for a card that could do nothing?
Right. And maybe in the new meta, like, there's a ton more cards that exhaust instead of, like, the one-time use discard cards. A lot of them become exhaust on condition. And maybe this card becomes, like, meta-relevant because you're trying to exhaust their cards early. Number one, I typically like to be second player. So if I'm exhausting your cards, you're going to activate that ship first, and this won't matter. Or you have multiple possibilities for me to exhaust upgrade cards, and I exhaust them. And guess what? It doesn't do any damage. It doesn't hurt you. Like, I can't think of an upgrade card that I really want to exhaust so badly that's like gonna change the game. And
I mean, the only target I can think of right now, it would have to be on the ship
that I don't want to be the one doing damage. Like, I could stick this, like, you should stick this on Raiders, right? Like, it's almost like Overload Pulse, which we get to later. Like, you put this blue critical effect on a ship that you're not really worried about it doing the big hit. It is just here specifically to do this effect to a ship that is needing something super important, and you're taking it away from them and then flying off into the sunset.
That comes into the cost of this card is it basically says blue crit, do not do your normal crit effect.
Yep.
And then exhaust one of the defender's upgrade cards.
Right.
Which is really expensive. Like, if they don't have shields on that hull zone, or if you punch through, like, with 1 damage, and you could have had a crit, and instead you exhaust fucking who? So, who do I even target with this?
The wet dream of this card is like a big fat Starhawk with ECM on it. Right? and
Yeah.
you come in there with your Raider and you blue crit, exhaust your ECM, right? And then maybe they have, yeah, I mean, and then you shoot them with your ISD and they can't use ECM, and you accuracy their brace and you blow them up, right? Like, this is the wet dream of this card. But guess what? Probably not going to happen very often. And I guess for 2 points, it doesn't hurt you that much if it doesn't happen. But it's not necessarily the point cost of the card. It is the opportunity cost. And that is the problem with all of these blue critical effects, is they all seem fun and cool. There's an opportunity cost to bringing each of them.
And the cost of them maybe just not happening at all that game.
And it's honestly just because, well, like, I could put 3 MS1 ion cannons on 3 ships for 2 points. It's only 6 points. And if none of them get it, it's like, I'm not losing the game over this.
Yeah.
The problem is that it's what they can't take. And are you, I don't know if you have anything else to say about this card.
I mean, not really. I'm just like, I mean, you can do things to make this card happen, but why are you doing that and not having a better fleet?
Right. So the card that sucks the oxygen out of this entire upgrade slot and makes MS1 ion cannons, high capacity ion, but all this other stuff seem like, why am I taking that, is leading shots. Leading shots is far and away the #1 best ion cannon upgrade slot. Like, bar none, like, no questions, like, having an argument about it is not like a thing. So leading shots for 4 points, by the way. I'm leading with the points because it's crazy. While attacking, you may spend 1 blue die to reroll any number of dice in your attack pool.
Oh, man.
All of them. How many? All of them. Actually, not all of them. It's pick which ones you don't like and reroll those. Wow. Like, Veteran Gunners wishes it was this card, right? Like,
yes.
Veteran Gunners, like, reroll all your cards. I don't want to reroll all of them. I only want to reroll the bad ones, right? So this is saying reroll any of the bad ones you want. It costs you 1 blue die, which is a cost I'm willing to pay. It is a cost. And that's why this card is 4 points. But it can be you. There's no exhaust here. Every shot you can do this.
Against squadrons, every shot.
Yeah, I've got an MC80 with a black blue, right, that I'm going to roll against squadrons. If I blank, I'm pulling my blue out and re-rolling that black, right? 75% chance of a hit. And I've rolled it twice. Guess what? Probably getting a hit on that squadron.
Here's the thing. You roll blue black, you get a crit and a blank. Okay? The crit doesn't do anything against squadrons, leading shots. You get an accuracy. It costs, that cost is nothing. The cost is nothing against squadrons. And you can do it on every single shot against a squadron. Not once per battery firing, not once per turn, not exhaust, none of that. It's just fantastic against flak. It's also fantastic against ships. Like, I'm an Akbar MC80. I'm throwing 2 blues and 6 reds, and I got 4 blank reds. It's happened before. It happened in our most recent battle report. And if I had remembered leading shots existed, I would have picked up that damn blue accuracy, thrown it in the garbage, and rerolled those 4 red blanks, and probably killed that raider. You would have for sure killed that raider. Leading shots is the problem with the ion slot upgrade cards.
If it was gone, all of these other cool ion critical effects become just, oh, well, am I okay with spending that many points for something that may or may not go off? And it's like, yes or no. But because this card is here, it's, oh, am I willing to put that card in and not take leading shots for 4 points? And most of the time,
MS1
that's
ion
no.
cannons, the 2-point upgrade we just talked about, it's like, it says blue crit, oh, but also you don't get to run leading shots this game.
Right.
It's like, oh, my ship is now worse for not having leading shots. Especially if it's a large ship. If you're rolling if you're rolling more than 3 red dice and you have an ion slot and you don't have leading shots, you're probably wrong somewhere.
Mathematically, you're probably wrong.
Yeah.
I want to give some cool examples because this card, I think, for the Rebels is even cooler than for the Empire. For example, Commander Sato, right? Let's say I have Liberty with 4 reds, and I Sato in, and make a couple of them blues, right? I can now leading shots at long range. Like a gunnery team's leading shots, Liberty can roll 4 reds and a blue with a concentrate fire dial, right, at long range for 2 shots, and re-roll the 4 reds by spending the blue if they need to on each shot.
And you can also do the cheeky quad battery turrets, adding 1 blue die to your attack pool at long range regardless. You just get infinite value from leading shots.
Running a double MC80 quad battery turret engine text list that's designed to just go speed 1, and what it would do is, you have Akbar, 6 reds, you get your blue from QBTs, and then you just basically know you're spending it to re-roll your 6 reds. Like, every shot
it's so
was
good.
so good. It's so good. How about Defiance? Lets you just add a die of any color. You're like, okay, I'll add the blue at long range on Defiance and just get a free reroll from my title
Defiance,
is just
quad battery turrets and leading shots, and you Defiance in the black. Yep. Because you already got the blue.
Yep. It also comes in at the best possible attack timing, which is while attacking, so anytime you want. But only once. So the smart play is to save your leading shots until you've added / re-rolled all of your other possible options, right? So concentrate fire command, add the die, special cards that add die. Maybe you want to use your concentrate fire token to re-roll a die or whatever. Like, do all of that first, and then pick up the trash with the leading shots and re-roll it for the win.
Whatever that trash might be.
Yep.
It's like any color of dice is just so incredibly good. This is one of the best cards in the game.
Yep.
Bar none. And obviously way better than any of these other upgrade cards in the Ion slot could ever hope to be.
It's why I wish it wasn't here.
This is the Chad Ion card. All the other Ion cards wished that they were as good looking as leading shots, and they're just not.
Yeah. It could be twice as expensive and still be the best card here.
Yeah, it could be twice. Like what? How much would this cost to make you not want to run it?
It would have to be...
Would you run it at 10 points?
It would have to be more than 10 points for me not to consider running it.
I think if it was at 10 points, I would still be like, what? That's really good.
Yep, for sure.
Any number of dice. Like at how cheap it is, it should be like, oh yeah, just reroll 2 more die,
Yeah.
Or 3 dice.
Obviously, this card shines more. It gets progressively shinier the more dice are in the dice pool, because you're subtracting a smaller percentage of potential output the more dice you add to the pool. So big fat ships with big fat dice pools love this card, right? Like, no CR90 is taking this, right? Like, no Raider is really taking this.
Yeah, no.
You put this on MC80s, Starhawks, ISDs, SSDs if you're if that's your flavor, if you're compensating for something.
Yeah.
And that's where it belongs. Onager, I think it can take Ion Cannon.
Nope, it can't.
Thank God.
I would have had leading shots on it if it could.
Yeah. So those are the and that's it's a great card. That I've said enough about it, I think, but it's a great card.
It's so good. Probably should have been the last on our list. Now we got to talk about the rest of these trash cards.
They're not all trash. They're just not all leading shots. So the next one is NK7 Ion Cannons. I think this card was in the game at launch or just after, and I've never placed it on a single ship. Blue critical. You may exhaust this card to force the defender to choose and discard one of their defense tokens for 10 points. What? Why does the defender get to choose which defense token to throw away, first of all? Second of all, it's another blue critical effect, which I think that basically all of the ion cannon cards should be blue critical effects.
Yeah.
However, you're exhausting it, so you only get to do it once per turn. The defender chooses the upgrade token or the defense token that he doesn't care about the most. You're already in blue range, so maybe he tosses his, evade token. Maybe he has 2 evade tokens and he's like, I don't care, throw this trash out. Maybe he's got 2 redirect. Maybe this is an MC30 you're shooting at, right? He's got 2 evade, 2 redirect. He doesn't care about this card. Maybe you're going up against, I don't know, a Starhawk with 6 defense tokens. He doesn't care about this card. SSD don't care about this card. Like, no one cares that you're doing this to them. And they probably got to spend their freaking defense tokens already. Like, it's just...
This is another card that has terrible timing for the blue crits because they can spend their defense token first and then discard whatever they want.
Right.
Like, you'll never discard a green defense token with this. It just will never happen. You'll choose it, they'll say, all right, I'll spend it, and then discard it.
Yep.
And also, this card, 10 points.
10
it costs how much leading
points.
Shots should cost.
Yeah, exactly. It's absurd.
And, like, it's just awful. Why do they get to choose? Why am I paying 10 points for a card that gives my opponent the choice?
Oh, I actually think it happens before they can spend.
It does not.
Yeah, there's like APTs.
No. APTs happens, but unless you can cancel, it's going to happen anyway.
Okay.
Like, APTs doesn't happen before defense tokens.
I'm like thinking about this and I'm like, should it work like that? It shouldn't work like that, right? Oh my god, yeah, honestly, it's so bad.
Like, this card should be like, okay, they get to choose, but they have to discard one before they spend defense tokens. Then this card would be cool. Then it would be like, oh, I understand why it's 10 points.
Right.
It's basically blue crit. The defender gets to choose to discard one of their red defense tokens, which isn't that incredible.
Right.
It's just not very good. It's just awful. It's an older card. It doesn't check out.
It honestly never checked out. Day one of it being in the game, it did not. It smelled funky. It is a rotten fish,
It's like one of those cards that they were like, is this too good?
This could also be 2 points, just like MS1 ion cannons, and
it's still not good enough.
Yeah. All right, next up, the only blue critical besides HIE that I think ever saw play.
Yeah.
Overload Pulse. Blue critical
probably
exhaust.
For lack of other cards.
Well, yes, but this card exists and is played because of Avenger. But blue critical exhaust all of the defender's defense tokens for 8 points. Yep. So like comparing this to the previous card, right? Like, it's obvious which one came out later. Like, Overload Pulse, it flips over 4 defense tokens for 8 points. NK7 ion cannons flips over 1 defense token 2 times, basically, right?
And you have to exhaust it. Overload Pulse you can use on both attacks.
Both attacks. And it exhausts all their defense tokens. So now if they do use them, they're gone. So essentially, it has the same effect as NK7 ion cannons, because anyone who gets Overload Pulsed is going to do...
You're appropriating the timing again.
Well, no.
This happens after
they spend
token
right.
step.
So the defense token people, like, the defender can spend them on this attack first before Overload Pulse, right?
Yep.
But what I'm saying is, let's say you get Overload Pulse to go off. You flipped all of their defense tokens, right?
Yes.
Now your other ships throughout the round can shoot at them.
And then they have to spend their red tokens.
Which means they're discarded, just like you would have done if it's NK7 ion cannons. Like, yeah, they get another use out of it before they discard it, but most players play in a way that they're saving their defense tokens for later rounds and trying not to burn them early and all of that stuff. So, like, its effect is just so significantly better than NK7, and it's 2 points cheaper. Like, it's, like, ridiculous.
Yeah, like, if you ever look at NK7 and you're like, oh, I have an idea for this. Just put Overload Pulse in there instead. There you go. NK7 would be good if you got to choose. If you could target
It
their
would be
brace,
better.
that'd be pretty
It would be
fucking
better.
good.
Yeah, it would be
It'd be way
better.
better.
You'd be like trying to snipe their brace token, you know? Like,
Yeah. I
but
mean,
no
they
one
get
will
to
ever
use it on the
discard
shot
the-
you're shooting at them, but
Right.
yeah, no one would ever choose to discard their brace first when they have contains, evades, you know? It's like,
So Overload Pulse, this became the hotness with Avenger on an ISD, and the idea here was Avenger's timing with Overload Pulse. But was it that you had to shoot it with something else first, or Avenger itself could flip your defense
you
token?
have to shoot it with something else first.
Right.
And then once Avenger is shooting at the target that has red defense tokens, it can't spend them.
And then it dies.
Yeah. This was the previous Avenger combo before Boarding Troopers.
Which is even better.
Which is even better. That's why you don't see this card anymore. But I mean, the Overload Pulse Avenger combo seemed fair. I mean, it seemed more fair than Boarding Trooper Avenger.
That's true, because
you need another ship to come in and hit the target. And I mean, you can play around that and kill that ship before it shoots at you.
Yeah, Overlord Pulse Avenger felt better because even if the Avenger player was the first player and they got Overload Pulse to go off on their setup ship, usually like a raider or something, I think.
But then you get to activate the setup ship
that
and
ship
move away.
got screwed. You can try to move it out of arc, right? Like,
yeah.
And then Boarding Trooper Avenger comes in and is like, no, I'm gonna Overload Pulse for myself with Boarding Troopers, and then shoot you all in one activation and just delete a ship off the face of the earth with no counterplay. I think Overload Pulse
with Boarding Troopers is it has no counterplay. You can't do anything.
Right.
Overload Pulse at least felt like you had some kind of choice of, hey, I'm going to activate this ship. It's targeted by Avenger. Like, if I don't get it out of the fucking way, it's going to get vaporized.
Yeah. I'll say if you remove leading shots from this set of cards, Overload Pulse and HIE are the most usable blue crit effects. They're the ones you should consider putting in your fleet if you want a blue crit effect. And Ion Cannon Batteries is the one that I think is cute. And maybe good in the future.
Ion Cannon Batteries and the MS1s might have some play in Armada 1.5.
Don't tell me MS1s. It's never going to be played.
I mean, for cheap ships, I mean, it could happen. Put it on, like, a fucking raider or something. I don't know. It's just like an extra throw-in card. It's only 2 points. Put it on, like, a ship.
Yeah, sure.
I think it would have some... I'm just talking about it could have a use instead of being effectively, like... I think I bought a ship one time. I just threw this card away. I was like, I never use it. It was awful.
Yeah.
I need more than 3 MS1 ion cannons? In what reality are we living in?
All right.
I would need more than 3.
One more ion battery. This one is SW7's. I actually like this card. It's not a blue critical effect, but while attacking a ship, each of your unspent blue accuracy icons adds 1 damage to the damage total, 5 points. I like this card because it's a blue upgrade card designed for ships with small dice pools. Something you've probably heard us talk about this whole time is like a lot of these cards want big honking blue dice pools because as you increase the number of blue dice in your shot, the percent chance of a critical gets bigger. But this one does not.
All ion upgrades are crit effects.
Yeah, and this one doesn't care about getting a blue critical. It really doesn't even care about getting a blue accuracy. What this card actually says is, while attacking a ship, each of your blue dice does 1 damage, right? Like,
no matter what.
No matter what. I mean, like, yeah, if you spend the accuracy, you lose the damage, but ideally on a ship that you're putting this on, you don't want to spend your accuracies. For example, a CR90B, right? 3 blues out of the front. You roll them. 3 hits, guaranteed, every time. But
every time.
Why would you, like, let's say you get hit crit accuracy, right? You're shooting something. Why would you spend the accuracy to target a brace so your damage goes from 3 to 2 when you spend your accuracy, but if you leave it as 3 damage, they
They have to spend
spend
their
it.
brace. Yeah.
They have to burn the brace, flip it over to take your damage from 3 to 2. So it in small dice pools, it makes you do more damage, quote unquote damage. It's the same damage, but you're also taking away tokens, right? Wow.
Yeah.
I love it. It's so fun.
This is one of the better designs for ion upgrades.
On small battery pools. It's so fun.
Well, I've also used this on large battery pools. I remember putting this on an ISD2 Avenger.
Scary.
Now, whenever I pop my Avenger, if I get a red accuracy, or also, I mean, if you're running Avenger and your combo works, you don't need accuracies.
This is good on Avenger. I never thought about that before.
My base damage is 4 blue dice, like 4 damage always.
Yeah.
You'll never luck out, and I'll roll 3 accuracies, which do nothing for me. There's 4 damage.
What?
And then if my
Avenger isn't normally on a Kuat, or is it an ISD2?
they normally go on ISD2 or Kuat.
So like,
or no, I like to put them on the Simoon. I put a Chimera on Kuat and Avenger on the Simoon,
yeah,
because it
like a
has a
Kuat only has
huge
2
range.
blue out of the front. An IC2 has 4. So, but I think you have to be close range for boarding troopers anyway, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So Kuat I think is best, and then you wouldn't put SW on this.
I run this card on ISD2s in Sloan fleets. This is really where its home is.
Not
at for the
Avenger,
Empire.
just regular ISD2s.
No, ISD2 Avenger in a Sloan fleet. That's where this card's niche is in the Empire. Because if you're running ISD2 in a Sloan fleet, you might not have targets for accuracies.
Right,
You might have
because
just
your
stripped all of
squadrons.
their defense tokens.
Yeah,
And now this card says you do more damage because of that.
that's an interesting idea for sure.
I think that's the only time I've run this card, though, is an ISD2 Sloan fleet.
It does
But, I mean, it's
something
fun.
fun with your blue dice, and that's why I like this card a lot.
I like it. Yeah, it's cool. I think, yeah, you saying that it's for like CR90, what was it, Bs?
Yeah,
With all those blue die, that's a really interesting tactic to get them to strip a lot of tokens.
yeah, it's like the only other viable CR90 apart from like a TRC CR90A, right? Like this is the
Yeah.
alternate version. It's not as popular because you are in medium range, which means your evades suck now. So generally
Well, what
you want to
about,
avoid this, but
Like
yeah.
an SW7 Mon Mothma fleet.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I could see it.
You run Mon Mothma, you run a bunch of, like, maybe 3 or 4 SW7 CR90s. That could be cool.
It could be cool.
Could be cool. Yeah, a lot of the Ion upgrades suffer from just poor design and timing. Like, blue crit, my timing sucks actually, so my blue crit doesn't really do anything.
Most of them actually suffer from leading shots being here. It needs to just be a different
That's
type
true.
of upgrade. Like make leading shots,
Offensive retrofit.
like oh, that would be interesting because everything
Yeah,
sucks
like
in
if
the
leading
offensive
shots
retrofits,
was-
right? Like
Yeah.
Mm.
And like the kinds of ships that want leading shots don't want anything in the offensive retrofit slot.
right.
But the kinds of ships that don't want leading shots want all the other shit, like expanded hangar bay and all that other nonsense that's in offensive retrofit.
That's an
And
interesting
then
idea.
You change it to offensive retrofit, increase the price. It's now 6 points.
Yeah.
Still take it. But now you get a cool. I think that's why it's in the Ion upgrade slot, because it would be fucking ghastly to run up against a ship that can reroll and guarantee its blue crits.
Yeah. I suppose so. All right. Well, that's everything on Ion upgrades, right? That's
Yeah.
all of them for now. I'm very excited for segment 3 because I think you asked a very interesting question.
Yeah.
Obviously the next wave is Clone Wars, and the wave after that is more Clone Wars, and I wouldn't be surprised if there was another wave after that was more Clone Wars, right?
Well, I mean, let's just real talk. Like, we've already seen this pattern. Clone Wars gets released, and they have to keep outputting in Clone Wars factions, Republican separatists, to balance out the game. Like, I mean, it's just a game balance thing. And this happened in X-Wing 2.0.
Yep.
And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just what happened.
Right.
You will just get waves of exclusive Clone Wars. Exclusive Clone Wars.
So,
Wars and then a scum shit.
I would say for a while, we won't see much for the Civil War factions, for the original trilogy stuff, but they have said that they aren't abandoning that section in terms of content. So if that's the case and new stuff comes out for the Civil War factions, what does that look like? Because there's not really many ships that we haven't already seen in the game that exist in that timeline.
Yeah, I mean, like the inclusion of the Starhawk and the Onager, I don't know where they can go from there. Like, what do you add to the game after those two ships, which didn't really exist anywhere ever?
They have invented multiple ships now for both factions almost, out of basically thin air to allow them to produce new content. And I love the Starhawk, and I really like the Onager.
I mean, the Raider didn't exist before Fantasy Flight made it for X-Wing.
I mean, the Quasar didn't exist when Armada started, right? Rebels introduced it, and they were like, bring it in.
Yeah, like sick new content,
Right.
But the Onager, I think that was just like an image in some Star Wars reference book.
Yeah, and the Starhawk they designed, and no one had seen it before.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
So, I mean,
I don't really want to speculate on them inventing new ships because, I don't think that I would be able to have any sort of accuracy with that kind of conversation. But
yeah, and I mean, you can say like, oh, well, there's all these expanded universe capital ships like the ISD Interdictor, and oh, didn't you realize there's the Pelion class Star Destroyer or whatever? Yes, everyone knows. We all know that those exist in the expanded universe. The problem is you can't license that shit. I mean, it has to have some kind of inclusion in the new hotness for FFG. Like, they can't do anything about that. Obviously, you can get whatever you want printed from Mel's Miniatures. That's not what we're talking about.
So I'm actually, like everything that I'm going to suggest or speculate upon as future Civil War faction content is not invention of new ship designs wholesale. Even though they've already kind of done that, I don't think that's worthy of my time to speculate. So here is one of my thoughts, and the most obvious one to do is another expansion that they did like the Chimera. Basically an alt paint version of a ship we already have. The model's identical, so they don't need to design a new model. They don't really need to change the balance of the ship very much, right? Like you're saying, same hull, same defense tokens, maybe they change it, whatever. But like it's the same chassis. They changed the dice batteries and the upgrade possibilities, and they include new upgrades, right? Like just like a redo and of that ship to give us more options to field the iconic looking designs. Target number 1 should be the Victory. Target number 2 should be the Assault Frigate. Target number 3 should probably be the Raider, right? Like these ships that we know aren't super, super great in the meta of the game because they were designed early, or something doesn't click with them. Give them another chance at life via a repaint, redo expansion.
Yeah. And we've seen things like this happen before with FFG.
Yep.
The kind of thing I'm suggesting is they're getting really into these I'm not saying Aces pack, but the new squadron packs that they've been teasing, like the Heroes of the Resistance for X-Wing.
Yeah.
Where you have multiple different ships in one pack, a bunch of different upgrade cards. Now, here's what I think is going to happen. And this is where I'm speculating the most here. is there's been a lot of delays in restocking with a lot of different ships.
Yep.
But if you look at specifically which ones are out of stock a lot, MC-75, Hammerheads, ISD, Chimera, all out of stock for a while, a long time, like hard to find. All of those ships were Scarif ships.
Yeah.
And so I think what we're going to see next is like Scarif packs. You know, Attack on Scarif designed ships. Like you get Profundity, but Profundity comes with 2 U-Wings. You get a Hammerhead pack, but the Hammerheads come with a couple squads of Scarif X-Wings.
Yeah.
Shit like that. That's what I think. Because they've already done something like that, where a large ship comes with extra squadrons, and that's the Chimera. And I think that one didn't work out pretty well. I mean, all the stuff for the Chimera is awesome, but the Gauntlet fighters are actually trash.
Just because
I wish they
Raid
were
is
good,
bad is why the Gauntlet fighters are bad.
And they're too expensive to do anything.
Yeah, but if Raid was good, they would be
Raid is good, but Raid's good only on Kanan Jarrus. On every other thing, Raid is bad. Kanan Jarrus is the only good Raid ship.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine, but that doesn't make Raid good in general. But so basically, you're saying not an Aces pack like when they did a reskin of the A-Wing and the B-Wing with a few upgrade cards. You're saying an Aces pack more like the new expansion that's coming out for X-Wing with I think it's 2 A-Wings and an X-Wing, or 2 X-Wings and an A-Wing.
Yeah, and they're alternate paint schemes. They come with all new upgrades. They come with all new pilots and stuff. But it's going to be for like...
But it's themed around a
engagement.
specific event.
Yes, it's themed around a battle. You'll have one for Scarif. You'll have one for Endor. You'll have one for especially what's coming out in Star Wars Squadrons. That's where we're going to see a lot of new content. Whatever kinds of missions they have, FFG is going to slurp that shit up. Each campaign mission, it's going to be at the Nadiri dockyards. We're going to have shit for that. We're going to have Starhawks with new hotness. We're going to have, obviously, we're going to have new squadron pilots. I mean, if they brought a fucking Sienna Reef from that fucking book, they're going to bring whatever fucking Vanguard and Titan squadron pilots they can from this fucking bomb-ass squadron game.
So the first thing that I have to say about that is I think the most likely thing that they will definitely do again is another campaign a la Rebellion in the Rim or Corellian Conflict. I think another one will come at some point with new aces and new objectives. Right? That's like, that's not a hot take. I want to see one that in addition to those includes ship cards and or the ship cardboard obviously as well. I wonder if they haven't so far because they want to do a themed Aces quote unquote pack for ship cards. But yeah, I think like there's a big opportunity in reselling us the exact same models that we've already bought with new cards and cardboard that and upgrade cards and commanders and all titles and all of that stuff, right?
Especially commanders.
Like, and they've done some of that already with like new titles. Like, didn't the Victory get a title in the Rebellion in the Rim or something?
Yeah, that Harrow title.
Like, that's part of it. Another piece of it is the new versions of the same ship chassis. And then then obviously like repaints, like people love repaints of ships. You don't have to, keep inventing new ships. You can sell me another Nebulon with, different stats and different colors, and I'm fine with it. And then the last thing that I think is unknown territory so far, at least in Armada, but is very well known to FFG, is non-ship expansions. Like, sell me terrain with objective cards in it, right? Like,
oh yeah,
you sold us a gravity well or whatever that's just a piece of purple cardboard that's a swirly thing in the middle of the board. But I would have paid, more to have a cool three-dimensional object that I can place on the board that comes with new objectives. I think new objectives was something that they started with Corellian Conflict, and I think is something that's a gold mine for the longevity of the game. Is every time I play with a new objective, I'm like, oh, I could have played this 4 more times with my same ships until I felt like, oh, I get this objective. I really understand this game, right? It's like a new game.
Yeah.
But
it just increases the field that you have to manage while you're playing the game.
The dust fields were a good start. The exogorths are great. The whales that move across the map on that one objective, cool. Yeah.
I mean, those are all cool, but like, if they're able to sell a fucking busted up ATST to those Legion guys, why can't we get a fucking plastic Scarif shield gate?
Exactly.
That comes with all the fixins. Yep. Why do I have to go to a third party to get that shit? Look.
Well, I think that the one on Mel's is a little bit small. I saw pictures of it next to an ISD, and it's like it doesn't seem like it's scaled really in the right direction. But yeah, like sell me a $60, Scarif shield gate with an objective or two.
All that good stuff.
Yep. And don't limit yourself.
You buy the Scarif Shield Gate objective pack, like all the Legion guys get. It comes with the plastic Scarif, it comes with the objective, it comes with the whole story, kit and caboodle, everything. And then the Clone Wars intro packs, like where they have that whole set fleet. Imagine that, but with like a couple hammerheads, a medium ship, and then some U-Wings and X-Wings and special ships. And each faction gets its Scarif pack. And you buy one of each, and then you fucking go into it.
Yep.
That would be incredible.
Yep, I agree.
I mean, that's just what I would do.
I mean, like, there's more that you could do, obviously, beyond Scarif, right? Like, you could just have a Star Destroyer model, but it's, like, destroyed, right? And it's like...
I want the white version of the Star Destroyer.
The Rogue One version?
Shitty gray panels.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Rogue One, just pure white.
Yeah, I mean, but what I'm talking about is more of like a piece of terrain, right? Like destroyed Star Destroyer. The objective is like you have to rescue the crew on board, right? So you have to like send a ship over and dock with it for one turn or something. And every turn that you have a ship docked with it, like you accumulate points, right? Like super cool. Makes you want to fly like speed 0, which is really dangerous. So the other guy might just like snipe you. But
you can
the terrain
you can have, like,
plus the
a
objective.
couple flotillas, and then like if you have a flotilla at speed 0, like are they going to waste a shot on a flotilla, even if it will wipe it out immediately because they can't use their defense tokens?
Yeah.
Or do they shoot your fucking big ass ISD that's like right in front of them?
Yep. We know it's in space, but
idea.
sell us some terrain,
Some new shit, some terrain. Yeah, some terrain would be nice.
Even if they just sold 3D nice models of the obstacles that already come with the game, like people would buy that.
Yeah. I just want more shit. I want to spend some money.
Yeah,
on this game. I haven't bought anything for this game in like 7 months.
Since the Onager?
Shit I can buy. Since the Onager, yeah. The Onager was the last thing I bought for this game. And that came out a hell of a long time ago. I think last November, didn't it come out?
The Onager... Let's see.
What am I thinking?
It was released January 31st of this year.
Yeah. So, fucking that was the last thing I bought for
and
this
before
game.
That was the SSD.
Else to buy.
Yeah, exactly.
Which
Before that was
like
the SSD, right?
So it's like once a year I can buy something for this game? Why is that?
Was it another year before that?
There's just so much more that they can do. And
I'm ready for it.
I'm ready for it. Okay, bye-bye.